Hi, my name is Kathryn Grayson Nanz, and I'm the developer advocate for KendoReact. Today, we're taking a look at the KendoReact Rich Text Editor and how to customize it for your application. Showing content to our users is really only half the battle. In most situations, an app also needs to be able to handle user input content as well. For your more standard inputs, your text boxes, range sliders, switchers, color pickers, other elements you might find in a form, the KendoReact Inputs library has got you covered. However, sometimes your users need to be able to do a little or a lot more with their content. Things like formatting, bolding, coloring, changing the alignment of the text, or maybe embedding images, creating tables for data, using bulleted or numbered lists, linking the content, basically full-on word processing. For that, you'll want the KendoReact Rich Text Editor. The editor has a long list of awesome features, and I really encourage you to check them out in detail in our docs. But in the interest of keeping this video short and not a full-length movie, we're going to focus on just the stuff that allows you to customize the editor, starting with input rules. Input rules allow you to modify the user's input as they're creating it by matching their input with a set of rules that you've created using regex. For example, in our docs, we have a set of great input rules that we've created to match Markdown syntax. This allows us to do things like convert hash characters into headings, backticks into code blocks, and dashes into bullets for a bulleted list. You could also use custom input rules to do small quality of life improvements for your users, like converting double dashes into proper M dashes, or triple dots into actual ellipses. In fact, it would be totally possible to swap out any specific word for another one, creating your own custom autocorrect, which we'll be doing here because I think that sounds fun, if not particularly practical. All that to say, the sky, or maybe just your own regex knowledge, is really the limit on creating your own custom input rules. In our example, we're going to create a custom rule that will look for the string hello and then change it to hi. To start, I made sure that we had imported prose mirror, and then also input rule and input rules. Then I went ahead and defined input rule down here, which is what will return any of the rules that we write. This is where we'll define any new rules using the new input rule syntax, which looks like this. Then inside these parentheses, we define the rule by setting the input that we're looking for and the input that we'd like to replace it with, separated by a comma. So we'll say hello over here and then hi. After that, we just want to make sure that on mount, down here, we are loading those input rules as part of our plugins list, which you can see down here. In plugins, we made sure to include input rule. And then in our editor, we create this new editor view, making sure that we include those plugins and that that is returned on mount, so that down here, when we call editor, you can see on mount, we call our on mount function that makes sure the input rules that we wrote are now in place. So if we save this and jump over here, we can see that when we type hello, it becomes hi. Not too tricky, right? I recommend that you don't follow in my footsteps by replacing random words as the user is typing. Rather, consider how your users will normally be creating content and what you could do to automate their most common needs and make their lives easier. Remember that changing content automatically can be a double-edged sword. It's great when we're able to predict our users' needs correctly, but it can create a frustrating user experience when we're wrong. Make sure that you're implementing these rules alongside lots of user testing and validation. Next up, customizing tools. because every app is different and every user base is different, every editor will need to be a little different too. Will your users be primarily creating lists, writing essays, inputting code snippets? Depending on what you plan to do with their content afterwards, you also might not want your users to be able to change the text color or embed images. Every KendoReact component is made to be highly flexible, because we understand that not every problem can be answered with the same solution. Ultimately, you, as the developer, know what's best for your users, and you should be able to customize every component in your application to give your users the tailored and intuitive experience that they deserve. That means that in our rich text editor, you get to decide what tools appear in the toolbar. Include the ones you need, leave out the ones you don't. To take it even a step beyond that, you can also customize any of the tools in our existing suite, or create your own totally new tools. Put them in the toolbar alongside ours if there's something that you need to allow your users to do that's completely unique to your application. Add your own buttons, drop-downs, toggles, whatever you need, we've got you covered. In this example, we're going to customize the existing font size drop-down selector to limit the number of choices that we offer our users. And once again, I am giving an excellent do as I say, not as I do example, because we're only going to offer our users 2 different font sizes, 10 pixels or 50 pixels. Go big or go home, right? To do this, we create a new file, which I've called myfontsize.jsx. This is where we're going to adjust the custom font size tool and then export it so that we can include it in our editor. So if you're able to adjust any of our existing tools, I would always encourage you to do that versus creating completely from scratch. It will be faster and easier, you can benefit from the work that we've already done, and what's not to love about that? So in this case, we will go ahead and import. We've got editor tools and editor tool settings up here. That's what allows us to get to the existing KendoReact tools. And then we're gonna check out editor tool settings font size, which allows us to make edits to the options that will be in this drop-down menu. So as you can see right now, there's only one option. We are going to add another one here. We'll say text of 50, that defines what will appear in the drop-down to the user. And then we'll set a value of 50, and that will be what actually applies the value to the font size style. You can put as many or as few things in this drop-down as you would like, but for us, we're just going to stick with these 2. Then to implement those changes, we're going to go ahead and export this stuff. So you can see here, we have created custom font size, which is calling our editor tools and the drop-down list, and then passing in the font size tool settings, which is what we just defined. Then we will create my font size tool, which is what we will be exporting for use in the actual editor component, and passing into that the custom font size with our font size tool settings as the prompts. When we jump back over here to main.jsx, you can see we've imported that custom font size tool that we exported from myfontsize.jsx, and we're passing it in here in tools. And if we wanted to, we could use that alongside any of the tools that already exist, any custom tools that were created. We would just need to import them and add them to the list here. I don't have any imported, but that's where you would add it. So whether you're looking for a fully featured word processing component or a super streamlined, user-friendly text editor, you can make it happen with the KendoReact Rich Text Editor. So you can see that what you see actually isn't what you get with the KendoReact Rich Text Editor. There is so much more under the surface. Our editor is deceptively simple. It's intuitive and easy to use on the user side, but has depths of customization and configuration for developers hidden below. Not to mention, our extensive docs and support resources are there to support you every step of the way. Ready to give it a shot? You could try the whole suite of components free for 30 days and see if the Rich Text Editor is just your type. Get it?